Yo, welcome back to another video. I've been meaning to film this for like 3 weeks and I've been just getting distracted and not doing it. But today I want to talk to you about two different calorie deficit approaches. It's just spring here in Australia now and a lot of you will be considering starting a fat loss phase. So I want to take you through two different approaches that I highly recommend and use with clients regularly that will help you get shredded come summer. So the first approach is definitely not your stock standard approach, and probably something you're not used to seeing super often. It's kind of a reverse on what most people would normally consider doing when in a calorie deficit. So the first approach that I like to take is actually scaling calories upwards as you progress through your deficit. So you start in an aggressive deficit. Let's use me for an example. I burn between 2,800 and 3,000 calories a day. So the starting calories for myself in this style of deficit would be somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000 calories. I start that when obviously the start of the cut, where I've got the most amount of body fat on my body, on my frame. The likelihood of negative side effects of a calorie deficit are at an all-time low for me, considering I have more body fat. So less likely to drop muscle, less likely to have any major issues in terms of energy and whatnot, because I have plenty of available energy on my body in terms of body fat. So starting off with that 1,000 calorie deficit, that's again just a guideline. Could be a little bit more aggressive than that, could be a little bit less aggressive than that, but I think 1,000 calories is a pretty good range to start in. And then every, say, 2 to 4 weeks, increasing those calories as you progress through the deficit. What's really good about this is you get faster results straight up off the bat. So you get to a leaner stage earlier, and then you're re-adding calories back in and increasing the available energy for your body to use as you start to get leaner. As I said before, mitigating any chance of potential muscle loss as you basically are reverse dieting back into maintenance as you progress through your calorie deficit. So again, I usually would pick a time frame that this is going to occur in. Could be 8 weeks, could be 12 weeks, probably 12 weeks. And then choosing a time frame in which you add calories back in. I think 2 weeks is a really good milestone. It's not too long that you feel like you're starving for an entire month, but it's not too short that you're not staying on the same amount of calories for 5 seconds and then increasing. So every 2 weeks, adding, say, 100 calories back into the diet, enjoying some extra food, generally in the form of carbs most of the time. And yeah, hopefully seeing no decreases in performance in terms of gym work. And then is a really effective method because you're obviously still in a calorie deficit for a very long period of time, and quite aggressive to begin for, especially the first 6 weeks. And then obviously a less aggressive deficit as you progress through. Now, of course, once you get to the 12 weeks and you've increased calories every 2 weeks, you might be looking somewhere pretty close to maintenance at that point. So you've essentially combined a calorie deficit and a reverse diet, and you're basically at maintenance again already. Now, at that point, you may want to sit at maintenance for a little while and then continue the deficit again if you feel you want to get leaner or for whatever reason. But at that point also, could be the end of the cut and you could be quite happy with where you're at. And it's also, it's nice just to finish on maintenance. You don't have that like external hunger cues absolutely kicking in because you've been in an aggressive deficit for 12 weeks or you've been in a fairly decent deficit for such a long period of time. You've really started to basically eat a relatively decent amount of food again. So that is an approach that I absolutely love for people that are more experienced, I suppose, especially those that are more experienced, that a potential loss of muscle is more prevalent for those individuals. Not someone that's brand new in the gym. You're probably not going to lose muscle in a deficit. So yeah, that would probably be the approach I would take. And also beginners, probably not the best idea to throw them into a super aggressive deficit straight away because a lot of them will struggle. Now, the other approach that I give to 90% of people when first starting, definitely appropriate for beginners, is to just keep a constant calorie deficit throughout the entire time. Actually, constant calorie range rather than, I should say, deficit. So for example, let's say the start of the fat loss phase, their maintenance calories is 3,000. Let's use 3,000 again as an example. Putting that individual into a less aggressive deficit than the previous option, maybe something like 500 if that individual's, depending on the individual, or for me personally, probably somewhere closer to 750 calorie deficit, and then maintaining calories at that range for the entire time. Now, obviously, as they progress through the deficit, then start dropping body fat, start dropping body weight. Naturally, their metabolic rate will decrease with it. And sure, that deficit may shrink a little bit, but the whole point of this is to try and keep calories and food volume very, very similar throughout the entirety of the fat loss phase. Same as with the first option. You want to pick a time frame at which you want to be continuing this calorie deficit for. Again, 8, 12 weeks. I probably wouldn't look to extend longer than 12 weeks or much longer than 12 weeks without adding in some diet breaks here and there. But the benefit of this is, one, it's a little bit less aggressive than the previous option. Sure, it will be tough still, especially towards the end as calories are that you start getting through leaner and calories are still maintaining at a relatively decent deficit, not like the other option where you're really reducing the deficit quite significantly. But the good bonus part of this is that you are eating at a constant rate throughout the entirety of the time. So your body does adapt to the calories that it's receiving. And especially if you're keeping meals consistent, where you're not changing up meals too often, your body really responds well to that consistency. And I find that hunger regulation is a lot easier if you're not constantly decreasing or changing things up too often. And that is the approach that I would give to pretty much anyone blanket across the board, especially those that are less experienced in fat loss phases. I hope these two methods helped and you learned something. Try them out, see which one you like prefer, or if you haven't done one of these ones before, try it out and let me know what you think. And yeah, I will catch you in the next video. Cheers.